Welcome to the Solo Edit Podcast, a podcast for estheticians looking for a weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and honest conversations about life in and out of the treatment room. Today I'm talking with Hannah from Ease Day Spa. I really wanted to have her on the show because she has built something a lot of estheticians are working towards. She has a warm and inviting space that stays consistently busy with clients who just keep coming back, and I thought she'd have some real valuable insights to share with you. Before we officially started recording, we ended up in this really candid conversation about mental health, and I decided to keep it in because I felt it was too important not to. For solo estheticians, especially, the mental load of running a business, especially if you're a mom, it really doesn't get talked about enough, and so we are going to start there. So Bethany and I were talking this weekend about like how her son is like really active and he always has to move his body and that they don't really think he has ADHD, but like it's so hard to tell, right? Because
boys.
And they have a lot of energy. I don't think we are meant to sit in a classroom. And I just remember being really young and like being ADHD, but it wasn't like a thing and nobody was diagnosing and really struggling in school. I wasn't interested, or if we were reading something, I wasn't able to comprehend what I was reading, or I'd have to read the same page over and over again. And I felt really stupid. And I'm like, what is happening? Why can I not understand what's going on? And it wasn't until really like my late 30s that I was diagnosed, and it was like, oh, I'm just like really creative and like my mind is just thinking about the next thing, or I have a lot of thoughts happening in my brain. And I think had I known that when I was younger, my parents knew, and like we were able to change that perspective and focus on more creative endeavors, I would have been a lot better off. I would have been feeling bad about myself, and I would have been more inclined to paint, draw, do things that kind of just inspire me and work with my sort of brain chemistry.
Yeah, I think part of the problem has always been, we know this, the way that medicine and psychology have always worked is framed around male bodies. The research has been on male brains, male bodies. So I'm now having all these clients and friends who are women who are, for the first time in their 20s and 30s, getting diagnosed with autism, getting diagnosed with ADHD, getting diagnosed with OCD, because the frame that we put all of those things in is, well, this is how boys with ADHD behave. Yeah. So if a girl isn't exhibiting that, then she must not have it. This is how boys with autism behave. If a girl isn't exhibiting that, she must not have it. And finally, we're getting all this research of, no, we are all really unique and it's expressed in different ways. And like you said, had you known early, I think a lot of this stuff is actually a superpower. If you can learn how to, like, all the things that make you really successful at what you do, part of that is your ADHD in there. Yeah. It's not, oh, I'm really successful despite my ADHD. The things are all wrapped up. And it's the same way with my OCD. Yes, it's at times crippling. And then at other times, it makes me excellent at what I do in a way that I don't have to think about. Someone else would have to put a lot of effort in to do certain things that I do innately, utilizing my OCD. So it is hard, though, like hindsight, you go, yeah, well, if we had known, if I had gotten at least not medicated, but if I had somebody to put guardrails on me and teach me how to utilize the way I just am, things just wouldn't have been as hard, right? Yeah. Or you wouldn't have been as insecure, or you wouldn't have been like, well, I'm the problem because blah, blah, blah. You would have gone, no, I'm doing great considering.
Yeah. But also, I think we're raised to fit into society, right? Yes. And so if there's any sort of like deviation, it's like something's wrong with you. And that is totally a social construct. That isn't actually how it's meant to be, in my opinion. And I don't have OCD, and I'm sure that can be crippling at times. But I think that also it goes back to that framework of we're taught that there's something wrong with you if you are X, Y, and Z, rather than, okay, let's look at this and let's see how we can build coping mechanisms or use it, to your point, as a superpower. Or my son has really bad anxiety, totally gets it from me. And we had him in therapy because I never went to therapy for anxiety as a child. And I think it would have definitely benefited me. And one of the things that his therapist said is before C started therapy, we would say, why are you anxious about this? Why are you scared? You've done this before. There's nothing to be scared of. And then his therapist would say, instead of saying that, just change the language around it. Of course you're nervous. You've never done this before. Of course you're nervous. That's normal. And I swear to you, like when you change the language and you change the approach, like he says to himself now, well, of course I'm a little bit anxious because I've never done this before. It's literally changed his life. And so I think it's so important to, rather than say it's fine or why is it like this or this isn't normal, it's just like that's how you are. And you don't have to be like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, isn't that healing for little Sarah too,
Yeah.
to watch?
Totally.
Yeah. It's like having a kid and getting to do it differently is really amazing, no matter how great your parents are.
Right.
You get to go, oh, I wish I'd done this. So that must be incredible for you to be like, oh, wow. And I look at my clients who have dealt with so much, let's say, bullying, especially those who are on the autism spectrum.
Right.
And that's so vilified in our society.
Yeah.
But they're geniuses in different ways than I will ever be. Again, back to superpower. I do think that society, at least our country, is built around extroverts and neurotypical people.
Right.
And when you're introverted, you feel a lot of pressure to like push. Like you need to be more social. You need to be more out there. You need to be louder. You need to talk more. And then with the neurodivergence, we'll keep that inside.
Yeah.
So people who unfortunately are introverted and neurodivergent are like having all these messages of like, do more of this and don't do that. But yeah, I don't think we have to label every single thing, but information is power. So
For sure.
a mixture. But yeah, I love that you are a mom, and I love the language you use when you post about your child. It's not, like I've been around so many people who view, at least in terms of career, being a mother as here's this thing that I got to deal with, and then I can get back to my exciting job. And I love that's not the language you use. And you're like, no, like I have multiple facets in my life and they're all exciting and they're all enriching. And I just have to learn how to balance all the plates.
Yeah. I don't even know if there's balance, but it's easy because I love what I do. Right. I would say for me, and then we'll get into like why we're actually here. But
Yes.
I would say for me, being a mom does not come easy. Like it is a struggle. I didn't have the best childhood and I've never been super maternal and really did not plan to have any kids. Now that I have him, I'm obsessed, but it's always a struggle. And like I go to therapy just for like, how can I be a better parent to him? Because I am not very good at like self-regulating. I was never taught or allowed to self-regulate as a child.
Yep.
And to your point earlier, like it is very healing, but you also realize like all of the ways that you still need to heal when you have a child because you're like, oh crap, I don't have this skill.
It's so humbling. Everything that my son does every day, I'm like, oh, that came from me. That came from my husband. You're doing that because you saw us doing that. The way you talk to me is the way I talk to you. The way that you emote is the way that I was emoting yesterday. And I don't like it.
Like I hear him talk to himself and I'm like, why are you so hard on yourself? I actually had this conversation with a good friend of mine and he was like, I wonder where he gets that from. I don't know anybody that is as hard on themselves as you, Sarah. And I'm like, I really try to be careful of the language I use, but kids are smart and they're sponges and they absorb things. So I don't know.
Yeah. The fact that you are even noticing that and that it bothers you, though, is a really good thing. My therapy sessions constantly are me sitting there, like spinning out, worried about X, Y, and Z for my son. And then I sit there and I worry because I go, oh, but I'm not like having a Hallmark moment with my kid. And I'm like, I expected when he was born to be like, this is the love of my life and all those Hallmark things. And it just didn't happen. And you do love your kid, but it gets expressed in a different way. You worry about him. You anticipate his needs. You like strategize on his behalf. And that's just a different way of expressing that love. Most people don't actually have these Hallmark moments.
Yeah.
She's like, you're going to have these moments that pop up that you go, this is amazing. But it's not like that all the time. And what did she compare it to? She said, it's like couples who are like really toxic, but they post online about each other all the time. She's like, it's the same thing with moms, where they're in hell at home and then they're posting all this stuff. She's like, you're authentically just caring for your child, and that's just as good. So anyway,
yeah,
just went in a different direction.
Hopefully he'll be able to slide this in somewhere. I am super excited to have you because you have been a customer. I don't even know how long, but like
2 years.
Yeah. But we watch you and it's clear that you are doing things right. And I hate to use the word successful because success is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you have a great business, but you hate doing it, I don't really think that's defined as successful. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But can you share a little bit about yourself and how you found aesthetics?
Yeah. So I had forgotten about this for a long time, but my mom and my grandmother recently unearthed photos and things of me as a kid. I had been that kid at 3, 4, 5 years old who was obsessed with quote unquote spa.
Same.
So I was so into it. I would force my little friends to sit down and let me put cream on them. And I really loved that my mom, who had 4 kids, I could bully her into sitting down and I could like play with her hair. It was something about seeing that look on her face when she would actually allow it to happen and just start to relax.
Yeah.
And in a household with a bunch of brothers, it's chaotic, but it was just me and my mom, and we were girls, and I could make her feel good, even though I had bullied her into that. And I loved everything about it. I loved the smells and the textures of her lotions. I would always be getting into my grandmother's stuff, like just the sensorial experience for me as a little girl. I felt like my potions, I'm playing with potions. And one of my birthday parties was like a beauty party. So I really loved that stuff. But as I got into high school, I didn't realize aesthetics existed. I thought the only option was you go to beauty school and you do hair. And I was very intimidated about doing hair. I didn't think I would be good at it. I have some chronic pain. So the idea of standing all day long in heels is what I thought you had to do. The whole thing, I was like, I just can't do this. This feels like I'm not good enough for this. So I swerved directions and I went to school for fine arts and psych with the hope of being an art therapist. And I got very far into that. I had some health stuff that got in the way of a lot of that. But I really pursued art and I pursued psychology, which I think both of them have actually really benefited my business now.
Yeah.
So I always encourage estheticians. It doesn't matter if you went in a different direction first and came back. It's just going to benefit you. And then I managed a gallery for a while. I sold my own art. I taught art classes. I facilitated art groups for adults. So I did a lot of that. In between that, because art doesn't always pay very well, I was working retail. I was working food service. I had been a receptionist in a few salons. That kind of was like, oh, I'm near it. And then with no checking if I was allowed to do this, I just started promoting myself as a wedding makeup artist. And I just started doing that with a friend of mine as a kind of, let's see if I can do that. And it was great. I did a bunch of weddings. And then what happened was I have endometriosis and I started to have really horrific cystic acne. And I was getting married and I was very embarrassed about my acne. And I was like, I think I need somebody who knows more than me. So I started going to this spa as a client and they worked on my acne and it was going fine. And then I basically just through a weird series of events, the owner had offered for me to apprentice. So it fell in my lap. I had written it off, actually doing it. I knew I loved all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I always was still researching and keeping up with what was trendy and learning. But I just had decided there's no way to do this and you're not smart enough for it. I had just come up with these things this is not an option for you. And it fell into my lap and I said, absolutely. And I worked really hard and I think I have this attitude sometimes of, let's just do it as a joke. And then I realized, this is very much a core part of my personality and started to remember, I really love this. I really love to make people happy. I figured out very early on that I'm naturally pretty good at massage and leaned into that. That was a big thing that got me and kept me having new clients. And I also really utilized a lot of my art stuff and realized if you engage with the five senses of your clients, that's a huge thing. People feel really fulfilled as a person if you've got good smells and good textures and you send them off with a snack and like all that stuff. So I think I figured that out on my own. I don't think anybody had taught me that. It was just a thing I started doing. And then a couple years ago, I had a miscarriage. And I had a miscarriage at that workplace, and I just couldn't keep going into that building. It was just excruciating. So I left, and that was a big uproar. It was seen as a very big betrayal. But at the time, I basically was like, I think I'm done with this industry. Like, I was just not mentally in a good place. But during the time that I wasn't working, I sat down and tried to decide, do I still love doing this? Do I still want to do this? Where would I do this? Could I do this? And I had never seen myself working for myself. I was like, I'm too crazy. Like, I can't be my own boss. And I'm not particularly good at math. But I just, again, it was one of those, let's just try it. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go work at a restaurant. And I put one foot in front of the other. And I was like, I'll get an attorney and I'll get an accountant. I'm artsy. I can promote myself and I'll just do it. And that's basically what I did. I had a whole summer off and just looked around at all the spas in the area. That was the only way I could figure out how to price my stuff. And I knew at first I wasn't going to be able to afford skincare. So I said, okay, well, I'll just start with waxing. I can afford waxing stuff. My main thing when I started out was I'm not going to take out a loan. I don't want to take out a loan because if it doesn't work out, I don't want to be strapped with that.
That is important. And I love to hear you say that. So many estheticians that want to go solo, they're like, okay, I have to take out a $20,000 loan. And it's the last thing you want to do if you don't have clients already.
I just didn't want to be stuck. I've never liked to be stuck. And I already had college loans I was paying off. And I was just like, we're going to do this. And I was like, I wanted so badly to start out doing facials.
Yeah.
And I had to deny myself that because I couldn't afford to do it in the way I wanted to. If I was going to do facials, I wanted to do them well.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll just do waxing. I can probably swing doing lashes. I was certified in that. And that's how I started out. And it wasn't like the love of my life. It was like, let's just get started. And I knew eventually that I would be able to do facials again, which is what I really love. And what I'm really proud of is I figured out a way to still have that relaxing touch connection because there was a thing that I basically created called the decompression session, which was like my one big joy. I was really able to have that almost like a facial where people would come in and I would do like acupressure massage. And I basically only used jojoba cream, jojoba oil. There were no products. There was no steam. There were no machines. There were no towels. There was literally nothing. They would come in. We would do a little, almost like a guided like affirmation or whatever. Like I would basically talk and do the relax your feet, relax your legs, move up through the body and talk them through relaxing their body. And then at the end, they would get a little mini facial massage. And that for me, until I could afford to buy skincare was like, even if no one booked it, I was like, I need this to be on my menu for me.
Yeah.
And it was like my bright spot and my thing that kept me motivated. Not that I hate waxing or anything, but it was like, I will eventually be doing facials again. And in the meantime, I get to have this touch connection.
Yeah.
I get to establish with people what I will be.
Right.
And so I've now been working for myself for 5 years. And it's funny that you say you guys look at me and think I'm successful. I think back in like November, I was like, I think I'm failing, you know, how we go through those things.
Yeah.
But what I continue to go back to is, and this sounds really terrible, I obviously feel very bad for other people when this happened. But through COVID and everything else that's gone on, I watch all these small businesses close down and I feel bad. And then I'm like, I don't think I need to close down. Why don't I need to close down? That's like the biggest thing that makes me feel like maybe I'm doing okay.
If you had to use one word, I have a word in my mind, but if you had to use one word to answer that question of why you were able to get through it and others weren't, If you want me to share mine, I'll share mine
I
first.
would love to hear yours.
I would say community, right? Because when you have clients that are actually invested in you and your business, they want to help you any way they can. And that is 100% without a doubt why I was able to withstand that, and why I often talk about the importance of building a community around your business, because we are going to have periods of hardship that we can't control, economic downturns, pandemics, whatever. But if you have people that are really invested in what you offer and who you are, it makes it so much easier. It goes back to that relationship and not just transactions. So
yeah, that's definitely probably number one. I would also say flexibility or even humility. I have no qualms about doing what I need to do at all. I can pivot very much. Like I said, like my heart is in facials, but I started out with waxing because I had to do it. And that's helped me through health stuff, through being pregnant and postpartum. If you're able to be like, this is what I can do, and I'm just going to stick with that, I think it's really good. But it's been a really weird, those dreams you didn't know that you still had kind of thing. And it's been really special. And yeah, so that's basically been my story. The missing piece was that I knew from the get-go when I started apprenticing that, and no offense to the United States, but I knew I wanted to work outside of US skincare because I had known for years like the philosophy that we typically have with US skincare. And that's a general statement, but I had learned a lot about France and Japan and Korea.
Yeah.
And been like, these philosophies just feel more connected to my soul and how I feel about the body and I feel about all of it. I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to find that stuff. And then I found you.
Yeah, I think that not just skincare, but just in general health, there's a huge disconnect
Yes.
in the West of like how much diet and lifestyle and exercise now. I'm worse at like I'll go through periods where I exercise a lot and then I don't. But there's definitely a disconnect of just like realizing that like our whole body is an ecosystem, and everything that we do and put into our body and even think affects our health. And again, it's changing, but there's definitely like that sort of philosophy goes into our area of aesthetics when we're talking about more of an Eastern philosophy. Quick question for you. Didn't even like plan on asking you this, but you brought it up. So are you still waxing and doing lashes, or are you just doing facials?
I phased out of lashes when I got to 8 months pregnant. It was like, this is not working. So that stopped. People were enraged, of course, that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And then with the waxing, I have phased way down. The first thing to go is leg waxes because, oh my gosh.
Right.
And probably the number one reason is the cost. The cost of supplies has gone up so drastically that, at least in our area, Maine's very impoverished. So what I would have to charge, let's say, to cover the cost of a leg wax, I just ethically couldn't do it. I would just feel so bad. I mainly do face waxing. I love brows. It's fun. And an underarm or a lip wax is quick. But my brand, my whatever is not based around pretty much anything but skincare now. And it's fun.
Estheticians are scared to let go of services because they're worried that they're going to push their clients away or they're not going to make as much money. So what's something that you've noticed having more time to focus on facials?
Well, I feel very strongly that when you do weeding, whether it's people in your life or with services or with habits, like when you make space for something, it will be filled. And I've had to overcome a lot of financial anxiety of what if I need waxing to stay afloat? And I think that's the biggest thing for estheticians is they keep services that they either don't love or really can't afford to be doing.
Right.
Because they think they need it and they think they're not going to have a full menu. And I just got to a point where I realized every time I was in the middle of a leg wax, I'd be like in my head thinking like, I could be doing a facial right now. And that's when if you're in the middle of a service and your body's hurting too much, like with lashes, my hands were hurting, my back was hurting, or you're just like daydreaming about doing something else, that's really the time. And yeah, it was really scary to take it off my menu. I had people who were mean about it, but they were like, I don't want to find another waxer, which is valid.
Right.
Especially with Brazilians, that's a very intimate connection.
Yeah.
And I think when you cut that out of your menu, you need to validate that with your clients and you need to be very sensitive. I have very trauma-informed care. So for a lot of women, I'm like, after sexual assault, I'm one of the first things they come and do, like from their therapist, is like, hey, if you're going to get back out into the world of sex, like maybe try getting a wax first, right? So I think you just need to validate people's feelings when you cut things out and explain to them also. But I removed waxing and yeah, I maybe had 3 weeks that was like a little bit more gappy in my schedule. But then you find out there's all these people who were wanting to book facials with you and they were on your website looking around and you didn't have anything that fit with them. So when you removed that waxing or those lashes, there were all these people waiting in the wings. Maybe they didn't add themselves to your wait list,
Right.
but they've been creeping for a while. And when they see, oh my gosh, you started posting openings and I thought it was never going to happen. And I've been waiting for 3 years to be a client. You just never had a Tuesday morning or whatever.
Right.
Suddenly you've created space where a new client can come in. And you just have to view it as when you weed things out, there's room for more flowers to grow.
Yeah. It's also an opportunity to network, right? So if you know somebody that just does waxing and then you refer for waxing, they refer for facials, there you go. You have a
I'm on Canva all the time. So there's a woman in my building who does body waxing and that's like the main thing she does. So I made little cards for her and for me that basically say your first Korean facial at Ease Day Spa, you're going to get $20 off. And I call it a VIP card.
Yeah.
Right. So she gives her people a VIP card. They come in, they book their first thing with me. I give them a VIP card and say, oh, well, I don't do Brazilians anymore.
Right.
But here's a VIP card. You're going to get $20 with Jamie.
Yeah.
And you can do that not just with people in your building. You can find multiple waxers. You could give someone a list of here's all your options of everybody in the town. But a lot of people want to collaborate like that. If I reached out to massage therapists in other towns and said, hi, my people are always looking for a massage therapist. Do you want to send anyone to me? And I'll send them to you. You just got to not be shy about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it provided Jamie more business and it's provided me stuff more aligned with what I actually feel like doing.
Yeah. Do you remember that point, like when you first went solo, the uncertainty and the struggle? Trying to get clients, not really maybe knowing the full like identity of your business yet, to like where you are at this point. Do you remember that first of all? And then do you remember the shift when like you started to build some momentum? What systems or routines do you implement now to keep that machine going?
Okay, so I'm the queen of imposter syndrome in general. Having OCD means that you doubt your reality at any given point. So the more successful and the more stable things get, the more anxious I get, actually. I do better when things are going really bad.
Yeah.
So starting out, the very first feeling starting out was that I just had this feeling that someone was going to come out of the woodwork and tell me that what I was doing was illegal. For no reason. I was just too happy. I was really happy working for myself and I'd never really worked at a job where I was that comfortable. Yeah. So I expected someone from the state was going to show up and go, you're not allowed to be happy. That was like how I started for probably a year. I was like, every time you're having a good time, something must be going wrong. But the branding aspect, you asked about like my brand and kind of figuring out who I was. I really feel like I'm still figuring that out to an extent.
I don't know if that ever really changes, even for me, as culture changes, as your business evolves, as you evolve. Like, I think that branding is always an ever-changing thing. There are some, like your ethos, and there are some things that stay constant. But again, like you're very creative. I feel like I'm creative. And so I think that's part of what's fun about having a brand.
Yeah. So I used to ghost manage a lot of people's social media.
Oh, okay.
And I used to, on the side, help people come up with branding. Yeah. And you would think that would be helpful, but I've encapsulated everybody else's personality and, like you said, their ethos. Coming up with what encapsulates me has been really difficult, actually. So I started out with everything that I was doing, basically just projecting what I thought clients would like. Calm colors, calm words, things like that. All those things that you think encapsulate spa. And they were pretty and fine, but I wasn't sure they were entirely me. But it didn't matter. It was, again, one foot in front of the other. We'll figure this out along the way. We need to make money. And maternity leave was really good because it was like you're awake at 2 a.m. and what else are you going to do while you're nursing besides be on Pinterest? Honestly, I figured it out a lot with things that you post. And it's a lot of that's been like, this is not as complicated as you think. Being so creative is actually, it makes it very hard because I get bored and it could go in so many directions is the problem. It's not like I don't have any ideas. It's like I have 27 ideas.
Yeah.
So that aside, though, you asked about systems. Do you mean like systems for my business or systems to stay booked or
anything? Like when I think of for me or what I did was like I always did a Money Monday where I would look and see where my bank account was. I look at my sales, how much retail I sold, and I would replenish accounts that needed to be replenished.
Mm-hmm.
I would like once a month would do all of my email marketing to go out. I have a system where I would go to the gym at a certain hour. Anything, like I consider that a system because if I'm working out in the morning, I feel better and I'm more productive. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So in terms of that, like systems and routines and rituals of things, again, I've had so many shifts just in the last couple of years having a kid that I think it's really important to acknowledge, like, you change 50,000 times within the years leading up to having a baby, being pregnant, having a baby, postpartum, and then you have a 2-year-old, and then you have a 3-year-old. I think the most consistent thing that has gone well is I have a very good friend of mine, and she's a photographer. She has ADHD, and we've acknowledged neither of us can get anything done inside our homes. Because if we're home, we feel guilty and we feel like we need to clean the house. So we have like productivity days where we will go, we haven't done this very much, but we go out to a cafe and we will work sitting near each other. And then we actually get to bounce ideas off each other, but she has a totally different small business. The other thing that has been great in my marriage is that one night every other week, my husband and my brothers take all the kids and all the moms get to be home. Mom alone night. It's great. And then every other week, the dads get to do their own thing and the moms have all the kids. But the mom alone night is great because if I choose to be home and I want to clean the house or cook, I can do that. If I choose to sit and watch something stupid, I can do that. If I choose to respond to emails and do inventory and this and that, I can do that. If I choose to take my evening and go get my nails done or get a massage, like, I think having something carved out where your spouse, if you're married, your spouse gets a night off to either go out or be home alone. This is primarily for people with children. They get that. And then the next week you get that. And that's been crucial for me in this season is to be like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I end up doing inventory, putting in product orders for clients if they're doing drop shipping, replying to emails. It's really great because creating the mental space is good. But each thing is important in different ways because mom alone night might just be me doing dishes and then responding to 2 emails. That's great. I needed to do the dishes. But when you go out to that cafe with your friend, it keeps you sort of accountable. You've got to actually go there because they're waiting there for you.
Yeah.
And then we have our little laptop set up and we might ask each other questions. Or I was really overthinking some sort of a Valentine's thing that I was doing. And she was able to look over and go, no, that looks great. Like, why are you obsessing over this? So having a friend like that where you can sit and both be productive. And I was able to give her advice on don't word your email to that wedding client this way, do this. So both of those are really good.
I think systems outside of your business, or what you do outside of your business, is just important as what you do inside your business. And I don't think I really fully understood that until this year. A lot of self-reflection, because especially in our industry where we're providing services, but so much of it is based on relationships, and we're touching people and we're around people all the time, it really can drain your energy. And so having things to counteract that when you are not at work, to release some of the pressures we feel, or just like some of the maybe negative energy that we've taken on, to be able to do that, to then be able to show up and give 100% is so important. And if you're a mom like we are, and business owners, I've really been exploring this a lot lately, and feeling like, why do I feel sometimes a little bit resentful, or why does it feel nothing, the world is crazy right now, but like in my life, nothing really crazy is happening. So why do I feel so stressed? Like I can't really identify. And this year, I've really just been able to reflect and realize that as moms and business owners, we always have the weight of somebody needing something.
Yep.
We don't ever get any sort of time to ourselves where like somebody doesn't need something, and we just focus on ourselves. And selfishly, I have been craving that so much, where it's just, I just want a day of nobody talks to me and nobody needs anything. And we do need to have those periods, maybe not a day, but we need to have periods where selfishly it's just us and doing what feels good. And that just is great for our mental health, but lets us show up in a way in our business that is absolutely needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I have dealt with a lot of like physical illness. I've had very advanced Lyme disease. I've had very advanced endometriosis. I've had a lot of life-threatening medical situations before I had my son. And so for me, chiropractor, massage, therapy, these things, there's no question they have to happen. Otherwise, I cannot be mom. I cannot show up and massage people all day long. And it's just not going to happen. I won't be able to stand. One of my top love languages is touch. It's very important for me when I'm putting out a lot of love and positive energy. And especially now, we are hearing a lot of anxiety and grief from our clients. It's really important for me to have carved spaces where I go to providers.
Yeah.
And I'm either having my nervous system reset, or my muscles reset, or I'm having a space to talk.
Yeah.
I also just set up phone calls. I drive a lot. If you're from Maine, you have to drive a long way to do anything. So I have fairly regularly, like I have phone calls with my grandmother. I have phone calls with very good friends of mine. I have FaceTime calls. I have play dates with people that don't drain me, with people who are also introverts, and we just let our children crash around. And then I send a lot of memes. I've never even met you, and you've been sent memes because it's a love language. But I think I just view it as there is a level of your energy that gets poured out when you're with your clients, when you're with your spouse, when you're with your child. And I try to refill that in any way that I can. Sometimes it's being alone, and sometimes it's, I really can't afford a massage, but I know I'm going to be a better person for the rest of the week. So I'm going to do that. We're taking a walk out in 2-degree weather because I know I need the vitamin D. Like you said, those are all systems. I've never actually thought of them as that, but it's just, again, I take everything one foot in front of the other, 1 hour at a time. So if my hours are feeling really long, then it's okay, something needs to shift. I need something. And it looks different every day.
Personally, I need that. I don't like things to be the same. I like to spice things up. And I don't know, that goes back to being creative, I think. When you think about how you've built, I'm curious, there's no way that you've been able to build your business without having something that makes you special, or ways that you've been able to differentiate yourself from others and providing something really unique for your clients. What are ways that you make your clients feel seen and valued that you think has impacted like the loyalty and retention?
There's actually a lot of things. Some of them I've been super intentional about, and some of them have happened accidentally. But again, I worked adjacent to the beauty industry for years, and you get to pick up a lot of what you don't want to do and what you do want to do.
Yeah.
The number one thing that I didn't know if people were going to think was stupid when I did it in that way. But again, I have a background with some education in psych, and I've been in therapy, and making a point to say my business is trauma informed.
Yeah.
Making a point in my forms that they fill out to have a section where they can say, I don't like to be touched in this way. I don't want you to work on me in this way. Giving people a huge amount of space and acknowledgement of, I have no idea what happened to this person within the last week, within the last year of their life.
Yeah. That's a niche within itself. Do you know that? Not just like Korean skincare or Eastern philosophy. I don't even know how to explain this, but that would be a niche because your clients know that you understand, and not all estheticians are doing that.
Right. Nor should they. We're not paid enough, and
Right.
we're not educated enough. I say all the time, I make a joke, but I'm like, people open up far more to their beauty people than they do to a therapist.
Yeah.
And because they're not on guard, they're uninhibited, they don't realize that they're pouring out their deepest, darkest secrets and their fears and their whatever, their pain. But I've really made that a point from the get-go of, in a professional way, being very open about chronic illness. I've struggled with infertility, a lot of miscarriages. I've had sexual trauma. I've had instances in my childhood that are very painful. I don't usually talk about that unless it's relevant. I've been very open about a lot of things when it's appropriate. And that, again, creates that connection that we're looking for with clients. I've had women spontaneously start talking about abortions or miscarriages or being cheated on or things that they are sitting there and they're telling you, or they're crying and they go, I don't even know why I'm telling you.
Right.
Right. And I think as long as we have the emotional boundaries and the capability to carry that, I would think that's the space we want to create for our clients. Somebody who opens up about something like that, I feel like that's bigger than money, but obviously that person's going to come back when they've made that connection with you. I had a client last week. When she first came, it was like right after a miscarriage, and she walked in thinking she was coming in for acne, right? And then it was like this whole thing of, well, the acne's connected to the miscarriage. And the treatment of the acne is going parallel with her grief and healing from the miscarriage, right? So again, it's not just the skin. Everything is connected to something so much deeper. But I got to share about mine. And she came in last week and said something to me about how she wanted to tell me something because I feel like a warm hug. I almost burst into tears. I held it together, but I was like, that is the nicest thing.
Yeah.
But I think I knew that, especially in our area of Maine, skincare and going and getting treatments, it's looked at as very vain.
Yeah.
People in Maine are very hardworking. We have women who work on lobster boats. We have women who are lumberjacks. We have women who are linemen. We have women who plow people's driveways and they do landscaping. We have obviously a variety, but women here are very hardy and they have to work very hard. And we survive really hard winters, as I'm sure it's the same in Michigan. So there's a level of shaming of getting this kind of stuff done. So when you create that conversation with people of, you're coming in and yes, you're getting your skincare, which is very important because it is healthcare, but you're like, we're going to have a connection and this is going to be soul care as well. That's been number one. Number two has been very much emphasizing that I focus on the nervous system.
Yeah.
And getting people back to neutral is really important. Do a lot of massage.
I just want to point out that is such smart marketing, right? You're talking about how a majority of maybe the people that you see or in Maine, not to make any sort of blanket statements, but they may see it as vanity and they're not that interested in that area. But if you change your language to this is more for your nervous system, you're totally changing that conversation. That's just so smart.
Well, you know what? Women, no matter where they are, I remember learning about like one of the only industries that continued just the same during like war times
Right.
and the Great Depression was the beauty industry.
Yeah.
This is essential to who we are and what we want to do. And we know, right? We know what this does for us. There are other people around us who may not know, but women always want to come in and do this stuff, whether or not they can afford it. There's a lot of having to justify, right? There are other states I know where maybe women or clients of any kind don't feel the need to justify their purchases when it comes to this kind of stuff. People in Maine feel they need to justify it. They feel like they need to have excuses for it. Well, I'm only doing this because it's my birthday. I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people come in and they give me I'm only here because, right? And so when I can take that and reframe it and go, first of all, you deserve to just do something fun. God forbid we do something fun here in Maine. We work really hard. You're allowed to have fun. But also going, this is going to make you a better trauma nurse. This is going to make you a better sternman. This is going to make you a better teacher. If you can get yourself back to neutral, you're going to perform better for the next few weeks. That I think is not even, it is marketing. It is intelligent, but it's also true.
Yeah. I never say to market and not be authentic.
Yes.
It's just addressing what your ideal client is actually maybe interested in or speaking that to them in a way that will resonate.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity is always going to be super important in anything we do when we run a business.
Yeah, absolutely. People are much more willing to accept wellness and healthcare than they are feeling good. For some reason here in Maine, we feel that we need to self-flagellate and we need to just be tortured all the time. I don't know why that is, but feeling good is like this.
It's a woman thing too, maybe.
Yeah, it is. God forbid I have any fun. I always tease my clients and I say, men don't justify their hobbies.
Yeah.
They play golf, they play paintball, they watch sports, they do all these things, and they don't have to label it as self-care.
Yeah.
It's just something that they do. We have to take our hobbies and call it self-care just to make it feel adjacent to being allowable.
Yeah.
I always just say, you're allowed to actually enjoy your life.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't feel good, then we can call it healthcare. No?
Yeah. Whatever speaks to you. I would always say to my clients, like when they would apologize for their body, I would always say, when have you ever heard a man apologize for his saggy balls? I'm sorry. For real. Men do not apologize. Like we're taught to apologize for everything.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. And we're starting to see a change in that conversation, which I'm really happy about. But it's just, my God, like,
I do joke with clients. I have particular clients where I'm like, I'm going to get a sorry jar and you're going to have to pay me a lot more by the end of this appointment if you keep saying sorry.
Yeah.
And it's a joke, but it's like, it does help them. Mm-hmm. And because I'm well-versed in OCD, I'm also very good at poking at people's like really negative self-talk, right? So they'll come in and they'll be like, I know that I have super bad acne. And I'll go, yep, it's the worst I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody's acne worse ever. You're just record breaking, right? And that gets them out of that. Or they'll come in and go, I know I'm really old and everything's sagging. And I'm like, yep, no one's ever been older than you.
Yeah. I love that.
At 47, you're the oldest person I've ever met. And they need to hear that. Yeah. There needs to be a humor about it, I think, for some people where it's like, hey, chill out, okay? At least I need that. Yeah, as far as other things, I'm very much community-minded over competition. I've worked in a lot of very competitive, very catty. That just happens. I think in any beauty industry, it can happen. I don't engage with that. I'm not interested in that. I frankly don't have the time. My superpower with a lot of these small towns, there's a lot of gossip. Well, I have mom brain. I can't remember anything anymore. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about someone else because I can't remember their name anyway.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I don't have bigger things to worry about.
It's just not interesting to me. I know that I will get clients who come in and that's how they've been bred to try to connect is through gossip.
Yeah.
About other people. They can tell me anything. I just don't really engage with it. So I think people see that. Some people think it's weird. Some people probably find it disappointing. And then I think other people find a real safety in that. You can walk into any salon and have a mean girl kind of atmosphere when you walk in and I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. So tell me about you. That catches people a little bit. Oh, like we don't have to do this performance art of being nasty. Now we can like be kind, and you want to get to know me and my puppy. And yeah, really getting past the facade, making sure people feel safe, making sure that we're verbally acknowledging that they're safe. We're in a pretty conservative area. I could get more flack than I do about accepting the clients that I do. But again, people could be mad that I take people of all kinds of gender orientations and sexual orientations and color. And you're not the one servicing them. And I'm sorry that offends you. I'm really not sorry that offends you. But
Yeah.
I have people come in who I know are not going to get welcomed at other spas. And I'm like, well, they're lovely and they're fun and they feel comfortable here. So I think just making everybody feel safe.
Yeah.
Making everybody feel like, like your body's allowed to be in this room
Yeah.
and deserves care and there's nothing wrong with your body. All that stuff. I think that stuff doesn't even need to be mentioned. It feels like a given. The fact that it even has to be a conversation is weird to me. Like, of course, everybody's going to come in here. I don't, and this feels risky to say, I do not go out of my way or really in any way pursue servicing men, which I know could be considered not cool, but
Yeah, I actually, and also maybe not popular opinion, because I'll see women in Facebook groups post, I don't service men, I don't do that. And then I'll see male estheticians, for the most part, some women, and they're like, that's sexist, you can't do that. But I feel like that sort of response is not fully understanding the woman's perspective and journey of always having to watch our backs.
Yep.
Always having to change the way we dress or we act in certain instances to protect ourselves. Like, they don't understand that. And I'm sorry, but if you don't feel comfortable servicing a man, then you don't do it. And I don't think that there is anything wrong. Unfortunately, that's just the position that women have been put in. And if men have an issue with that, then maybe you need to think about how you can contribute to empowering women and changing how men behave.
Yeah.
And until you make active steps to do that, like, I don't even want to have that conversation.
Yeah, I don't make a big deal out of it, but I don't anymore. I have 3 brothers. I have nothing against men. I have a husband. I have a son, and I've certainly done male facials, but at this point, I'm typically working alone in very soundproof spaces.
Yeah.
I'm a 5-foot woman. I already have trauma from men. So I don't go seeking out more of that. And again, it's like the conversation we had before about when you weed out the things that aren't your ideal, it creates space. So the fact that I'm not servicing X, Y, and Z men, well, I always recommend those men who make inquiries to a different spa across town that loves to service men.
Yeah.
Right. So I do find it funny when male estheticians are like upset about it, because I'm like, well, that gets you more clients. Wouldn't you be more happy about that? But maybe that's controversial. The other thing, and I know this is controversial and I don't care, is as the only girl in a family with a bunch of boys, I'm like, boys get precedent everywhere they go. Men are priority everywhere. I love having a space where it's just women and where I don't mentally and emotionally have to code switch depending on the client that comes in. I have some trans clients. I have tons of non-binary clients, but I don't have any cis male clients. I bully my husband in now and then. That's for fun.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not the conversation we're supposed to have today. But again, you just go with what works for your business. And as long as you're not saying, I'm not going to service you and I'm not going to tell you anywhere else to go to because men don't deserve facials. That's not the goal. The goal is hey, these people would love to service you. Right?
Yeah.
I do think I have seen, and plenty of people have seen, I've gotten really disgusting email inquiries from men as well.
Oh, yeah. Especially when I had my studio, especially when I first opened, because I did Korean skincare, I'd have men come in and see me and see that this wasn't what they were expecting and I wasn't Asian and turn around and left.
Yep.
And do you know what they all had in common? They were white, old men.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is really a thing that I don't know. Again, it's controversial, but like,
it
so
sounds
gross.
meaner than it is. I don't think it's that mean. I've talked with my husband, I've talked with my brothers, I've talked with male friends about it, and they're like, no, you got to do what you got to do. And they're like, if it were me, if you're asking me, I don't want you to risk a creepy situation. I don't think that's sexist. They think it's intelligent. When I worked at a bigger space with rooms with lots of estheticians and the rooms weren't soundproof, I was more comfortable taking male clients. But things change. When you're solo, you have to be smart.
Yeah.
Even with female clients. If you get a weird vibe, you got to be smart.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, this took a turn.
That's okay. I love this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you want to share or bring up?
One thing that I do really just want to share for anybody who's like new to the podcast, new to Kin, is that I've been around for a pretty long time now. It's weird to say, but I've seen a lot of educational classes and I've gone to conferences and I've been in a gajillion esthetician chats and groups. I think I would love for people to hear that if they're on the fence, they should stick around and take a look around the Kin educational platform or even just the Facebook group, simply because the vibes are good. I have not been in many groups where it has been productive. It always seems like these questions that people post dissolve into some nastiness. I don't see that in Kin. So part of this is just a thank you. But also, you should be really proud of that because there's maybe 2 or 3 other Facebook groups and things I've been a part of, and they're so well-meaning. I can tell that the admins are well-meaning. But it's like people really lose sight of the goal of the group. And it's either just all advertisement for I don't know what, or it's just nastiness. And I will say that the Kin community that you've built seems to really get why they're there for the most part. They seem to understand, like, there seems to be a feeling of, first of all, there's enough clients to go around.
Yeah.
Right? People don't seem to understand that in the beauty community, but there's so many clients. And it's best that clients end up with the person that matches them.
Right.
But also, I really love it. I don't have tons of extra time now that I have a kid to sit on your educational forum and everything, but the classes are really good. I feel like everybody running the show behind the scenes with what you do, they're very helpful. I had a huge shipment go missing a few weeks ago. That had never happened. And your team was so great, like helping me figure it out. So I would say if anyone's on the fence still, get on it because it's completely helped my business. Even before I bought anything, I just sat and read and read and read. I just sit and read things at night. It was really nice to see people like encouraging each other. Someone would post their work and everybody had like really kind input, and it's been very refreshing. So I know that's not the most useful input for a podcast, but if anyone's listening and they're like, I'm not sure, I don't know what to think, it's been very helpful. I don't like to align myself with anything that even smells nasty or salesy or whatever. I like to learn, and I've really enjoyed finding a community that also likes to keep learning.
I promise I didn't bring you on here to plug.
Well, I know. I'm very slow to attach myself to anything. So I would say the 2 most creative times in my business, one was when I left and went out on my own, and I had this huge, it was terrifying, but I had this huge burst of creativity. Yeah. And then the next most creative, transformative time for my business was when I finally decided that I was allowed to niche down and say, I specialize in Korean skincare. And once, sometimes niching down again, it's not putting yourself in a box. It's finally giving yourself this space to be like, this is the direction, and now I can run in that direction. And that's what happened when I went out on my own and when I decided to work with your company. And it was like, I didn't have choice paralysis anymore. I was like, this is the direction. This is what I'm researching. This is what I'm going to use. This is what's going to play into my brand. And it's been really fun. So even if nobody goes with your company in general, estheticians, like niching down, I think is very helpful.
Yeah.
It's really helpful. And I know the economy is awful, but I think of it as, again, weeding or pruning dead branches. Like you're just going to thrive when you're more in your little thing that makes your business yours. Because
Yeah.
anybody can do a facial. We know this. Med spas do them. Hairstylists can do them. Anybody can do a facial. You want a specific facial. If you're doing waxing, you're going to want it to be very ritualize it, make it a really great and a really special wax. If you're doing lashes, I don't know. I'm past that point in my life, but niching down, I think, is a big thing. But I'm really glad I hitched my wagon to you.
Me too. I'm so happy that we were able to connect, and like the beginning of our conversation, it's like wild how much we have in common. I know we've chatted online and stuff, but I feel like we've sparked a new friendship.
It's funny because your name is Kin, but she's a kindred spirit. I've felt that for a while.
Yeah.
Which is why I've been weird and sent you memes
Yeah.
when I don't know you. But I'm like, I'm a millennial. The only way I know how to make friends is through memes. But one other thing I do think that we can and should acknowledge is that I think we have a lot of clients with the current insanity going on in the world. I think it's okay to say out loud, if you don't know, and I'm not speaking just to you, more to everyone listening, if you don't know how to hold space for clients or like how to approach, people are coming in and they're scared about ICE. They're scared about politicians. They're scared about the economy. They're scared about, and I live in a very conservative area. So I have people who aren't feeling that way at all. And that's their choice. This is America. They're allowed to feel that way, and good for them that they have peace. But I'm at a point where I don't always know what to say. Yeah. And I don't always have the emotional capacity to hold that space. So I'm just trying. And I think I'm seeing a lot of things and a lot of chats with providers going, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to post. That's valid. I think just showing up imperfectly is okay. Does that feel like a good thing to say to you? I just want to encourage people. Just no one trained us for this. Right. We are not counselors. Right. We're not social workers.
And this is our first time on Earth.
Yep.
This is the first time we're going through a lot of these things and showing up imperfectly or not showing up at all, quite frankly. Yeah. Whatever you need to do to keep the peace for yourself.
Yeah. I've barely been posting on social media. My spouse is a person of color. Mm-hmm. And there are days when I feel very full of joy and very optimistic and very like one way. And then there are days that I feel just sad or just overwhelmed, or it feels very fake to post.
Yeah.
Which is I've never felt that way before. I've never felt, is it appropriate to market right now? And that's my own personal thing to struggle with. But I'm seeing that echoed in a lot of comments and a lot of chats.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a wrong way to feel. But yeah, I haven't been posting as much. And I know we all feel that. You have to post, you have to post, you have to post. Like the algorithm is going to kick your ass if you don't. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that needs to be said out loud is we don't have an answer. And that's okay. We're all being grown-ups for the first time. And there's not like a guidebook for any of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just seeing a lot of people going, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll look back in 5 years and things will be different. Whenever I don't know what to do, I look back. I say, what do I want to see 5 years from now that I did?
Yeah.
What do I want to have said that I did? And that's a pretty good thing for me, at least.
Yep, totally.
But anyway, yes, thank you for inviting me.
I enjoyed it too.